Greetings and welcome to a Prayerful Pause. I'm Nancy Woodworth-Hill, and amongst other things, the spiritual director, spiritual companion. Today we will look at Francis Weller's stone ritual. This is designed to work with grief. I'd like to begin with a few quotes. Oscar Wilde said, "Where there is sorrow, there is holy ground." Carl Jung wrote, "Embrace your grief, for there your soul will grow." Francis Weller states, "Grief is not a problem to be solved, not a condition to be medicated, but a deep encounter with an essential experience of being human. Grief becomes problematic when the conditions needed to help us work with grief are absent." Much of what we have been taught about grief is that it belongs in the mind. But in his book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow, Francis Weller, a psychotherapist, beautifully advocates for recognizing the spiritual dimensions of grief. He notes that we have forgotten the primary language of grief, claiming that grief work offers us a trail leading back to the vitality that is our birthright. Grief is essential to finding and maintaining a feeling of emotional intimacy with life, with one another, and with our soul. Weller asks, how do we learn to carry our grief and not collapse or turn away in denial? He claims we need to revision grief not as an event, a period of mourning, but as an ongoing conversation that accompanies us through life. He suggests an approach of reverence to be in right relationship with sorrow, not too close, not too far, which takes sustained practice. And of the handful that he mentions, a couple are journaling or drawing or dancing, which this practice deepens over time. Thus, grief work is not passive. We don't sit back and wait for it to happen. We must learn to stay present with ourselves. He also notes that many experiences of loss are not adequately contained by those around us. He calls this attunement, a quality of attention wedded with affection offered by someone we love and trust. Grief work requires courage to face the world as it is and not to turn away. It deepens our connection with soul, and it takes us into territories of vulnerability, exposing the truth of our need for others in times of loss and suffering. And it reveals our bond with the world when the earth herself is violated. Weller claims that without some familiarity with sorrow, we do not mature as individuals. The broken heart, he says, is capable of genuine love. Weller advocates for the healing capacity of ritual, and one that he suggests and writes out in his book, he names the stone ritual. This ritual is designed for a group, would work very well with a group. I've made a few modifications for working with it as an individual. In this ritual, a shrine is created that has a large bowl of water at the center. Surrounding this bowl is a collection of small stones. They're small enough to easily fit in the palm of a hand. After an invocation is made, you can approach the shrine, pick up a stone, speak aloud the grief that you are carrying in your heart. There are many kinds of griefs. It could be a sorrow over a particular loss, places that within you that have not known love, the suffering of loved ones or others around the globe, the wild ravages of the earth and her creatures, could be unrealized expectations, or even the sorrows of the ancestors. And when you have finished speaking that one particular sorrow or grief in your life, place the stone into the bowl of water. This is repeated for each grief you wish to bring to the bowl. And any and all grief may be invited to the bowl. As the sorrows are named and the bowl fills, you may wish to see within here collective grief of humanity and the earth within the stones. Take the time you need to place the stones in the bowl. When you are ready, the suggestion is to take the bowl outside where the water is poured onto a plant. You take your grief and turn it into nourishments for the green world. The stones, which are left, may be taken to a river, a pond, the ocean, so that the movements of the water can scour these stones clean once again. So to observe this ritual, you will need to prepare a space and a time, a simple shrine. You see here, I have a candle, I have prayer bell, and I have my favorite icon. Things that matter to you. It could be just as simple as the bowl and the stones. An invocation may be used. It could be as simple as silence or calling on God to be present. Be sure to give yourself plenty of time, as the grief you intend to bring to this ritual may unlock other griefs and sorrows which also need to be spoken. Beyond the pouring out of the water, you may need a closing gesture or words or even sound, which will return you to the present moment. You may also wish to do some loving kindness. I've recorded also a video the week before this one, in which I have put Francis Weller's loving kindness, which begins very much and focuses on giving loving kindness to yourself. This may be another way to accompany the grief that is poured out into this water. If this video has been helpful to you, please consider sharing it. Go in peace.